Welcome back to another video of Derek Okahashi and Mahe Kaho'olawe with Core Team Hawaii. We want to do a video describing all the different islands. There are 8 main islands, 9 for some people, including Vegas, the Big Island, Kauai. We're gonna fly to Maui this year. We've started to help people on Maui. Most of the channel is on Oahu at this point, briefly. So like 30 seconds to a minute, Oahu, go.
Cityscape, Honolulu is the capital of the state. Most abundant numbers of people here, probably most jobs here, best hospitals here, probably most things to do outside.
Most schools, most opportunities, as in most like coastal cities around the country. It's like, where was the harbor? So Pearl Harbor, Honolulu Harbor, etc. It's where I think people are most likely to live for all of those reasons stated. And I also think, which, you know, Andrew, who we mentioned on our Maui video, we texted this week, and he's asked him what he thought of that video, and he's like, you can sense your Oahu bias, but it was good. But I think that's a healthy bias, because I do think that a lot of people who are, you know, have this dream of going to Hawaii. I'm gonna have a fruit stand in the front of my house, and my wife's gonna sell kale that we grow and all this. I mean, having lived on Maui for so long, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I think that novelty expires, and then your stint in Hawaii could be more short-lived. Whereas Oahu, you can have a normal life.
I think coming from anywhere else, Oahu, you'll have the least amount of culture shock coming to Oahu.
But if you want to go like pick bananas in the forest, you can. You want to go find mountain apples in the forest, you can.
But you can also like go to Neiman Marcus if you would like to.
Yeah, you could drive into town, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that's Oahu. And my bias for Oahu not only is that's where we are. Take 100 families from the mainland, whatever that math is, you divide them on the different islands. And I think that the Oahu cohort has the best chance and will have the longest duration before they choose to leave Hawaii. I think the people on the different islands might either get bored, or the medical's not good enough, or the schools, or the, you know, whatever. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that.
From someone who lived on
I came
half
back.
the islands. Yeah.
Kauai is probably, to me, the most beautiful island. Like, yeah, it's super green. There's valleys. When you imagine what you think like tropical Hawaii paradise green lush looks like Kauai as a whole still has that vibe. Like you get off the airplane, it's like an outdoor, you know.
You walk down the thing.
Yeah, you walk up downstairs to get off of the plane,
Yeah.
and it's like lush and green, and the airport is still like an outdoor airport. When people think of what Hawaii, what their expectation of Hawaii should look like from like a tropical paradise standpoint, like it still has that like aesthetic look and beauty of it. And so to me, it's like my favorite island to go vacation on. If I'm doing a staycation in Hawaii, it's my favorite place to go. It's a lot slower.
Super slow.
It's pretty slow. You're not going to have all the conveniences that like Oahu or even Maui offers, but there's still stuff to do there. There's still a little bit of tourism there. So you can still have fun if you're not a local and you don't know where everything is. But
what though?
Like there's some shopping and
like Waikoloa town.
Not a lot.
Outdoors though, beach, hike, fish.
You want to paddleboard up a river to a waterfall, check.
Kaho'olawe lookout.
The Napali Coast is there.
More fresh water than anywhere. Because the way that Hawaii happened is like there's a hot spot volcano. So a million years, Kauai comes up, shifts to the left. Oahu comes up, shifts to the left. You know, and that's kind of over eons how that happened. And so Kauai is the oldest of the main islands. Maybe Ni'ihau, but they're right there next to each other. So it's the most mature. Whereas you go all the way to the Big Island, it's like black and green, you know. Black volcanic lava rock, like green fern. Kauai is more like, there's more dirt, more fresh water.
There's more erosion, so there's more just like vegetation.
It's literally more round.
Yeah.
For that reason. When I think Kauai, I think of a spirit. Hands locked, block the harbor so the super ferry cannot come. What you doing filming at the beach? Throw your camera in the water. I'm not saying it's all super activists or trying to paint it in a negative light, but Kauai is like, we were never conquered by Kamehameha. There was a treaty. This is our island. You want to come here and be a Kauai hippie from the mainland, whatever, but assimilate to our culture. Like, not Oahu culture, not Maui, like Kauai culture.
Yeah, I think that's the difference, because it's not to say that it's like heavily, like it's only local people there, because there's definitely lots of transplants there.
Yeah.
But that like assimilation to the lifestyle that is already there is more evident than like on Maui, where you have like a lot of transplants, but they kind of like come with their own ideologies and like, well, I like this, and it's a big enough island to where you could probably do that. But Kauai is a smaller community, so it's like, cool, you can come, like shoots, come do whatever, but like this is how it is here. So
self-regulating, So the people who might be successful on Kauai or enjoy it really are down with that country vibe, really want to assimilate, don't need street lights everywhere.
Yeah, if you're like about that outdoor life and that's what you want, like you're sure and you're solid that that's the type of lifestyle you want to live, it's not going to bother you to not have conveniences, then you definitely could thrive there. But
if you're coming from your New York Stock Exchange stress job, you need to decompress 5 years of stress with 2 years of living there. Could work, but I don't know that 20 years is going to work. Like, it may or may not. With Kauai, there's Ni'ihau. No one's going to live there. You're not going to do real estate there, but just so you know, Ni'ihau is that island. And there's Kauai. Ni'ihau is a little island that the Robinson family purchased and kept it as sort of like a reservation almost.
Almost, yeah.
It's not a reservation. It's not U.S. government sponsored. But for pure Hawaiians, like pure Hawaiian blood.
They speak Hawaiian there.
We cannot just go.
No, you can't just go there.
It's not a tourist destination. You'd have to be invited. Then would be Molokai. Molokai for me, I never been actually. Molokai, I think it's country. I think it's probably like 100 people or less graduate in the high school each year.
Correct. Yeah.
Molokai bread. I just think of this place of like Hawaiian and Filipino and maybe Portuguese ancestry predominantly. Hunt, fish, drive trucks, shoot deer and boar, and probably everyone knows your business.
Correct. I lived there for multiple years. My brother still lives there now with his wife.
Is that why you moved there?
Originally, we moved there. My brothers and I all bought a house together.
Okay.
And we just had a house there. So our dad, who was like retiring, and our mom had just passed not long before that, we just wanted to have like a home base for us to go to. One brother was already living there, and we had spent a lot of time there already. So we just had a home base there. And I had like multiple points, like early in my marriage, when I had kids, when we first had babies, lived on Molokai in that house. Pretty accurate description.
Yeah,
it's called the Friendly Isle. Like the nickname of that island is the Friendly Isle.
Is that? I never knew. Would you have known that? You knew that?
I knew that.
Yeah, okay, Friendly Isle. Oahu is what? The gathering place, right? Gathering Isle.
Kauai is what? Garden Isle.
Garden Isle. Maui is Valley Isle. If you're not from Molokai, if you don't have Molokai ties, you don't see too many transplants that go over there and like want to buy property there. And
not even from other islands, right? Like
not really. It's predominantly like homegrown Molokai people.
Yeah.
I loved it. Molokai is beautiful.
Is there like an app so you don't date your cousin?
Nah, you know.
Everyone just knows.
You just know because you remember because he was there because he's your next door neighbor. Probably like a handful of big families that kind of everybody knows, and then
like on Kauai, the Silvas.
Yeah.
Like, Silva is like probably 20% of the population on Kauai.
But everybody kind of knows each other. It's fun. It's chill, but like there's no movie theater. There's no mall.
Is there even a Costco or Sam's?
No Costco or Sam's. There is a store. On the one road.
Store on the one road.
There's a store on the one main road in Kaunakakai that sells Costco things. For like they have a boat and they go to Costco and they bring it back and then they upcharge it and sell it on Molokai. But best bet is like somebody or have a cousin who has a boat who can just like take your order down, and then when they go to Maui to do
crazy.
Yeah, to like which we literally people do that. Like, I go in Maui this weekend, I go in Costco, what you need.
Anything?
Yeah, and then you just kind of put your order in.
Yeah, antibiotics.
Or maybe somebody on the barge, somebody who works for a barge or whatever, and they can scoop you stuff and bring them over.
We have a whole video on Maui versus Oahu, and we'll probably do more actually. I think this like diminishing local population of like Hawaiian, Japanese, Filipino, I think
transplant heavy,
I think resort, I think shrinking middle class, because I mean literally like Oprah, right? Like owns
up in Kula
some of the nicest real estate on Maui. Some of the real estate investors that I follow from bigger pockets and whatnot, they live on Maui now with multiple 7-figure incomes. Like I think of Maui as that place where if you're coming from the mainland and you need a job, you need to like establish a life and work, Oahu is just the most likely outcome. But if you're coming from the mainland and you're living on passive income and rental properties and businesses, or you've cashed out and you're worth multiple 7 figures, etc., you have the discretion to look and choose and pick wherever you want to be. And Maui feels like the mainland sometimes because there's so many transplants. When you're in like Kihei or whatever, it's just like Costco and a store. And
easy and very minimal like assimilation involved in moving to Maui. Like
whereas on Kauai, they're like assimilate or die. That's an exaggeration, but maybe not. On Maui, it's kind of like, yeah, like
come do whatever. Like,
you guys occupy part of the island, but we can go cruise over here in Kula with our family. Or we OG Maui people.
like if you're already kind of like affluent and established, it's easy. It's like a good spot to be. If you need to hustle, if you're at a place in your life where you need to grind and you need to hustle to make your money and make a name for yourself and build your identity, it's not as easy to land on Maui and do that. It's not a place to go grind. Like if you're in grind mode and you're ready to like build yourself, like you're more successful if you're either more relaxed or maybe already established and can come to this place here. Oahu is kind of like grind mode.
Where I thought you were going, but where my mind went was on Maui. If you're a CEO or investor, whatever the case may be, you're sitting at different tables in terms of the wealth game. You can more easily rub shoulders and commingle and have dinners with those sorts of people because they've chosen Maui. They got off the plane, they're in this valley, and Haleakala's there, and there's this energy. All of this stuff we talked about in our Maui video, there's just this mana, this energy, and they say, yeah, I want to live there by the West Maui Mountains. I'm going to live there.
Yeah.
My business, I fly to California every quarter for my board meetings, whatever, and I come back to home base in Maui. And there's so many of those type of people that it's like a compounding effect. Whereas on Kauai or parts of the Big Island, maybe not as much so, maybe like more retarees, but not 30 and 40-year-olds who have made it kind of.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Like,
yeah. Also, the island's just a little bougier. Like even like the county itself, Maui is like I'm pretty sure the most wealthy county in Hawaii. So like even the roads are nice. So the roads are nicer, and there's like it just has like a like the landscaping everywhere is nice, and it just.
So on Kauai you have this brand, and it says home, and the O is the island of Kauai. There could be like a clothing brand, Never Conquered, or whatever. Oahu, there's like Oahu Grown, and Maui, there's Maui no Ka'oi, which means Maui's number one. Maui's the best. So you talk about being affluent and like. Kind of high literally we're the best. That's their urban slogan is like we're the best, and that's the brand. But I see why. I mean, it's beautiful and it kind of is the best in some ways. But who would be successful there? Not someone who needs to grind and build, unless they're off. You could go there and be successful in real estate,
resort,
sell insurance,
hospitality, like.
Create a boat tour business and somehow get the whatever.
You can find a niche for it, but it would be in more specific niches. There's not as many, like you can't just go and like be an entrepreneur and have all of these original ideas. It's going to be harder to make it there to start up.
And even if you were climbing the corporate ladder at say the Marriott or something, likely you're going to, I think you mentioned this in another video, you're eventually going to transfer to Oahu or California or somewhere else,
you're going to end up someplace else if you keep climbing,
So Maui, middle-aged and or later-age wealth mixed with a transient
on a journey of self-discovery
that isn't so rootsy in the Kauai way. Still want to drive to the store and get your fair trade coffee, avocado toast.
I would like to shop at Whole Foods on Sundays, but
maybe
also
not harvested as much from the woods like Kauai.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
Okay.
Lanai is pretty much just the Four Seasons is there as far as like industry or job opportunities. Very, very small boat tours, harbor, but even the boat tours that operate on Lanai, they come out of Maui. So
because you can see, it's like right there.
Very, it's like super close. Yeah. I want to say it's like 13 miles or something like that. Yeah, Lanai is small. I think there's like 3,500 people there. Lots of local families. Yeah. Used to be owned by Dole. So it was just a pineapple island before.
So small, one person owns the island, right?
Yeah, like 98% of it or something.
Yeah, whatever is not government land.
So if you look at the island now, it's starting to be more green, but before it was really dry. Rain clouds would pass by and just like pass it because they wouldn't get caught on anything. So if you look at Lanai, you'll see like pines that they planted at the very top of the island, the highest point of the island. And these pine trees like grew to where rain clouds would stop and water the island and water the crops and water the pineapple fields.
When I think of Lanai, I think I've only met one person from Lanai, and he was in the Coast Guard with me. I think hunting.
Super local, yeah.
There's some two main hunting tours. I think one's called Pineapple Brothers, and they have axis deer. I think of hunting. I think of the former pineapple reputation, the Four Seasons. There's really nothing.
But that's kind of it.
Kaho'olawe, it was used for bombing for
Up
decades
until
and decades.
the 1990s, even.
Until the 90s. So the U.S. military would use it as a bombing site, which is super disrespectful. Hawaiian activists and local activists stopped it. And so I don't know, it's probably like a super fun site and it's probably not safe to inhabit.
Yeah. So there's still tons of unexploded ordnance there.
Probably,
so there's
yeah.
that. So even when you're going to the island, there's, you have to sign all this paperwork. You have to go through all of these, jump through hoops and everything to get there.
Have you been?
No, I haven't, but I've paddled around. So even when we do like a voyage and we canoe paddle around the island, we even then have to give the island like a 2-mile berth. Like we can't get closer than 2 miles to the island without permission. So
we were going to go in high school. We had to get waivers and stuff.
I mean, I would love to go. But
we were going to camp.
Yeah.
But it was
the people who go now, it's not a destination. You go there for cleanup and you go there for education. That's what that island is for now. And it's really sad actually because Kaho'olawe is like the way it's situated. We have the navigator's chair there, so like navigation is huge. Seafarers and like wayfinding in Hawaii for Hawaiian culture is huge, right? Kaho'olawe was like the island to be at if you were a wayfinder. They have the navigator's chair, which is a point on the island where if you sit up there, if you're looking at the rest of the island chain from the navigator's chair, if you look at it, it's almost like the rainbow, the arch of the rainbow. That chair is here at the top, and you can see everything. You can see all the islands.
So on a clear day, you can see other stuff.
You could you could chart all of your paths there.
Oh,
so the fact that it's like very, very culturally important island, and that was the island that was used for bombing practice up until the 90s. So that's not that long ago. It's really sad. And they broke the water table, so we could never occupy that island again. We could never really reclaim that island because there's just no water. The watershed is broken. Right now it's about cleanup, hopefully getting rid of unexploded ordnance and getting it to a point where they can like grow vegetation again and like have birds and things like that.
And then last but not least is the Big Island. You know what I noticed now, like on the news they used to say Big Island. Now they say Hawaii Island.
Yeah.
Why? Was that
I think that has to do with just the move more towards like Olelo. There's more of a like a revitalization of culture now, so they're using the proper name for it, which is Hawaii Island. But like a local will say Big Island like all the time.
Yeah, you're not gonna hear people say, "Oh, you guys went Hawaii Island." It's like, no, you guys went Big Island. The Big Island, as the name suggests, is the biggest island, but it's not the main island in terms of population.
Yeah, so where the active hotspot sits under the Big Island now.
Yeah, it's literally where the volcano is still erupting and expanding that island. Southernmost point in the United States, South Point.
Super young as far as like
rugged
geology, so that the island is young. So whereas the further you get up the island chain, you'll see more dirt and erosion and plants and plant life.
Kauai.
Big Island is
you have black and green sand beaches, yeah.
But that's because it's all fresh, like lava rock, like up at the surface. So
or there isn't a beach because it's still rugged, just
rock,
sharp, cut you up lava rock. But in terms of living on the Big Island, you obviously think of two sides of the island. You think of Hilo, the wet, rainy side of the island. You think of Kona. When I lived on the mainland in California, people would always, "Oh, you're from Hawaii? Oh, I go to Kauai every year, or Maui every year. Oahu, obviously, or Kona." Kona is another place with, I think, a lot of transplants. Dry side of the island. That's where like the Hawaii Ironman is. I think there's probably a higher percentage of triathletes and, athletes in general living in Kona. And then Hilo is very local. And
Hilo is like where they hold the Merry Monarch, where the hula festival is there. I feel like it's more like Hawaiiana feeling and like...
And there's this different Hawaiian pride. Like there's Hawaiian pride everywhere. And whether that means you're Hawaiian by blood or Hawaiian by heart or a Hawaii person by culture, because not everyone here actually is Hawaiian. But the Big Island has a different brand of pride and respect, with Mauna Kea being right there and the island literally being formed every day as the lava erupts.
To me, all islands are living and breathing, but like you really feel that like on the Big Island. Pele is in abundance there. Like for instance, like a mailele. When you get married, men wear a mailele. That leaf is found on the Big Island.
Yeah.
That's like you have to go there to find that.
But in terms of living there, I think it's huge. So if you have a problem with, island fever, rock fever, you can at least go for long drives.
You might not like end up anywhere in particular if you just need to drive, yeah.
Kona to Hilo. But some people like grew up driving, like it's just a thing, you know. But you have Hilo, wet, you know, local town, probably similar to Kauai and outskirts of Maui and stuff where like plenty of this family name and that family name. I always see people like, oh, make sure you don't date your cousin or whatever. And Hilo people like say stuff like that. And then Kona, although still plenty of local people, but definitely a lot of people from the mainland and other parts of the world in Kona. Those are the two most populated places.
They could be up in Waimea.
There's Waimea.
More like ranchy, and there's Pahoa. We have a client right now, hey John, who is coming from Pahoa to Oahu. So even if you like do like a light search on like properties on the Big Island, a lot of people are like, oh wow, it's more affordable there. You know,
all these little.
It'll be like big pieces of land with nice homes on them, very, very like spread out and far apart from lots of acreage. At first glance, like more affordable, like makes sense. Like, why would I not buy that? Like, why would I not choose that over, you know, a single family home on like Oahu or Maui? So for other of our clients, as well as friends of mine, it can be difficult to be there depending on what your wants and needs are. If you need to be near a hospital, you are very far from there. You need home insurance, which you probably do. A lot of times you probably can't, you know, you can't qualify for certain types because you may be in like a lava flow. You may be in the zone where the lava flow can and has, and at some point in the future may again devastate the entire house. So insurance companies may not want to insure your home because
there are lava zones.
There are lava zones, exactly. You need work done on your house. Nobody wants to come over there because it's a 2-3 hour drive from anywhere else.
Pretty common to have like water catchment systems.
Yep, water catchment.
And probably still some outhouses and, you know, definitely septic tanks and cesspools, and it's just super country. There's so much land and it's so spread out. So if you're not in the main city centers like Hilo and Kona, which by no means are cities, but
comparatively,
you're in these places like Pahoa, Ka'u, etc. Not a lot of transplants or like very distinguishably are certain transplants, and they probably don't all last that long there. It's a very, very particular way of living. So if you wouldn't live in the middle of nowhere US, just because it's beautiful here, you may not thrive in the middle of nowhere Hawaii too. I guess that's my message. Island hopping is very easy. The way island hopping goes is like this. Get on the plane, they go, you want passion orange guava? Because you know I'm going to take them in a minute.
Yeah.
Right? They give you your guava juice.
A little carton of juice.
With the tin foil.
With the tin foil lid.
The ridge.
And the ridges around the little.
Oh, so good. So sugary. They give you that, you start drinking it, and then they go, give it back to us.
And then you pop.
So island hopping is really easy. Especially Hawaii, Big Island. Although like the terminals there, easy. Oahu, Maui, not as much. But with that, if you need to go mainland, Oahu, or internationally, we talked about in another video, Oahu, like, dominantly is the best place to be. You're probably going to have to go through Oahu to go anywhere. Certain exceptions. Maui has, like, some Maui to California, some Maui to Vegas is, but not a ton.
Coming island to island, it's a little bit more expensive than people expect it to be, because sometimes you can get from, like, a California to a Texas or something for like $100 or something.
Southwest,
yeah. But in Hawaii, it's like generally always going to be like at least like $100 to do a round trip puddle jump, right? Like a island to island, unless you catch it on like some real like special. So even though it's a 30-minute flight and it's just right over there, you can just expect to pay about $100, you know, for an island hop trip. And that being said too, if you are somebody who like wants kind of like the Pahoa or the Big Island lifestyle, and like, but maybe your healthcare isn't such that you need to go to your appointments you need to see a specialist every month, or you need to see a specialist every week. If you only need a plan to do that sort of thing, like every 6 months or every year, like it's very easy to just fly over to Honolulu, where a lot of people do it. A lot of people do that.
My uncle guys do it.
So if you're in that stage, that could work for you. But if you're somebody who needs more regulated special care, things like that, might be best to have a home base here on Oahu instead. Hawaii is going to have everything under the sun, and it's so drastically different from island to island too. Depending on what you need, depending on what you want, there's probably a place that you could fit in well here. Whether you're super country and you just like want to have no neighbors and be left alone and not deal with anything, to if you are a businesswoman and you want to have an avocado toast in the morning before you work your 16-hour day, you know, in a metropolis city. Like, we have all of that here. You just need to know where to find it.
You just need to talk to us. I think Oahu is going to be the ticket for 80-90% plus people. That's why 80 to 90% of the population is on this island. Makes sense. You know, Maui is not really any cheaper. Kauai is not very cheap. And I think for people that just like, I just need to be in Hawaii and I can deal with a little isolation. And Big Island is going to be more affordable and they might head that way. But if you need to work, you need to establish a life, you need schools, you need the higher level hospitals, you want stuff to do. Occasionally you want to go to restaurants and see shows or maybe college sports at least. Oahu is just gonna be the ticket for most people. But this is moving to Hawaii. And so we want to tell you guys about all the islands. I know it's a question for a lot of people watching the channel. So there you go, 2 local people's perspective on the different islands, and let us know your questions and comments down below.